I am Ponzo Nefetti. I'm delighted to be in conversation here with Esua, a sister I've known for many, many years, and looking forward to this brief intro chat. What would you like to share about yourself and your work at this time?
Well, thank you very much, Ponzo. It's really delightful to talk to you, because I think sometimes, you go back a long way with people, but actually you never get to share your story sometimes. You're so busy doing the stuff, that to sit down for a few moments of reflection is really good for old friends and new. And it's something we don't do enough of, really. And I was just reflecting on that and how what I've been doing has changed over the years. And I'd say right now I'm a writer and a feminist activist and a strategist. I do a lot of work in the Black Lives Matter movement. I am a member of the steering group of Healing Solidarity, which is absolutely wonderful to be part of that. And I've just recently completed my memoir on Black mixed race identity, which was published this year. Very exciting year to publish a book in the middle of a pandemic, your life's work. But anyway, I think life is nothing if not challenging and exciting. And I would say that it's interesting that over the years, I think I became a feminist when I was about 15. I read The Second Sex, Simone de Beauvoir, and that was it. I just it lit me up, and there was no going back. And also as a teenager, I was very involved in the Black consciousness movement and so on. And when I sort of lived my life through, first of all, going on VSO and then joining international solidarity groups and being a member of staff in different voluntary sector and charitable organizations, and long career in the so-called international development movement and so on. And very much involved in the United Nations process, the Decade for Women, and there we all were at Nairobi and Beijing, and CEDAW and all of that. And it's amazing. Really, this is a momentous year, not just because of Black Lives Matter and COVID and all of this, but also it's a very historical moment for feminists, because we've had 40 years since CEDAW, 25 years since Beijing. So it's a sort of moment of coming together and reflection. And I think when you're kind of living your life, it feels like a series of random bits and how the hell did I get here moments, but when you sort of look back at it and reflect on your life, you can see that there's some golden threads running through it. And for me, the golden threads are definitely feminism, Black identity, solidarity, internationalism, and these, whatever I was doing, that was there. Whatever else, when I was in meltdown, when I was having my nervous breakdowns, when I was celebrating success with my sisters, those are the things that were always there as the echoes through your life. And I think what is great about Healing Solidarity is being with a whole lot of women who are have those golden threads running through, and especially to work with younger women. It's an intergenerational thing, I think, in Healing Solidarity. That's what's so good about it, that we've all got those golden threads, but they play out in such very different ways depending on our experience. So it's sort of the kind of healing from the tumult of it, and also the solidarity bit, that you're not alone. You're going through this journey with many others. And I tell you what, that is something that is really, the sort of onlyness thing was another theme in my life. That I was brought up in a white working class family on an estate in Battersea back in the day in the 1950s, and I never saw another Black person. So I was searching for something all my life, and I was often finding myself in white spaces in my career, and sort of thinking, how did I get here on another board, all white people with, and predominantly men as well. And I think the sort of onlyness thing, people call it being a series of firsts, you know, the first black chair of Fawcett Society, you know, the first black person on the Women's National Commission, whatever it is. And you think, well, it's not, for me, I didn't experience it as a first. I experienced it as an only one, as somebody that didn't have access to the solidarity that I needed in order to be really effective. And so sometimes you get that wounding through that without healing, and it can, you know, really fire you up inside. So I think the healing and the solidarity coming together for me is absolutely great. You know, we are in the right space. It's a really difficult time to be on this planet, but I think it's a very exciting time, full of potential, because the feminist story, we've been thinking about alternatives for decades, you know, and we've got a whole vision, not a few policies here and there, or just a bright idea about, you know, a national wage or whatever. We got the whole thing. So, you know, the kind of sustainability, all the stuff we've been working on. So that's what makes me feel excited, and also how much what I'm doing now, as always, is joined up with who I believe I am and what I believe in.
Yeah.
The two things have equal weight, the healing and the solidarity, because you really can't do one properly without the other, I think. And the healing, I think, is particularly because we were born, the movement, our collective, was born out of crisis, really. It was in the wake of the exposure of the sexual abuse issues that came out of some of the big organizations that we work with and alongside. And I think, obviously, as feminists, we've known that this sort of patriarchal, sexist, white supremacist story was running through our sector, and we were doing a lot to try and combat that. But it was only when this broke that I think people really started to listen. So I do feel that the healing needs to go on throughout the whole world. It needs to go on in every institution. It needs to go on inside ourselves. And as feminists, you know, being a feminist of the 70s, we always used to say, you know, the personal is political, and that's exactly what this is all about, really. It's all about your own behavior and being in tune with equality and solidarity and healing, not just in a world context, not just in a community context, but inside your own body. And that's a never-ending story. It's not a done deal. It's a continuous lot of work. And having been born out of that crisis and feeling that as feminists we needed to come together to do that healing, and you know, just it was like a bereavement, really, to feel that that we had such a crisis among a sector which is supposedly out there to do stuff in the world, to make the world a better place. And I think we went from that to the exposure of the environmental crisis, again, which we have been working on for decades and know how much impact that has on women. And then into the COVID crisis, which is all born out of the same sort of patriarchy, global capitalism, sexism, and white supremacy story. So there's all that joined up story. And then to have Black Lives Matter explode on the scene in terms of, you know, there's this whole racist narrative going through everything. I think it's a confluence of an amazing number of things come together. You just really feel like Angela Davis said at the WOW conference, the Women of the World conference, the world is at a tipping point. You know, this changes everything, says Naomi Klein. And I think they're absolutely right that it's got so bad in all sorts of different directions that only good could come out of it. Because who was it said, you can't get change just by moaning on about how bad the present is or the past is. You can only get change by having a compelling story to tell, so that people say, of course, that's the alternative. It's not just that everything's bad, but there's something so much better, so much more, good for the planet and for the people and for ourselves and for our well-being, that, it's a no-brainer. We got to go there. So it seems to me that out of all of this, what we can hold on to as feminists is that we've got the healing. And we do that because of the personal being political, and we're talking about our own well-being. And we've got the solidarity because you do that work yourself, you do it with other people, and we're modeling it, in Healing Solidarity as a collective. It's not just two words put together, it's actually what we're doing, does what it says on the tin. And the fact that we've grown from strength to strength, and there's now 1,000 of us, in that, is just really exciting. And although we are at a very difficult moment in time, I also feel that, as I said before, we've got this vision, and there is nothing we can't do if we can explain that vision to the world. And I think at the moment, the sort of alternatives have all been colonized by the right wing and by people who are very, the people who have a very white supremacist and, global or xenophobic narrative. And what we need to do is put forward our own vision. We need to be articulate about it. We need to be compelling about it. And we need to get it out there. It's not just that so much is going wrong, but that we know from our experience that there are many, many things we can do to put it right. So I'm up for it. I'm up for it with my sisters, and I'm really excited about that opportunity, as well as grieving, obviously, for the losses that we also suffer at the moment.
Thank you, Esua.
Thank you.
When I started Healing Solidarity, I had no funding for this project, and I didn't know if anyone would listen to the first conversations that I recorded. At the beginning of 2020, I brought together the advisory circle, and they've been helping me to begin to transform this project into something that can be collectively held and run. We want to bring in people who can support the work of our online space and events, both during this annual conference and throughout the year, providing healing and reflective spaces for those who are committed to reimagining international development. And to do that, we need your help. We hope that this conference and our online space feels like a place that you can belong in all your questions, in your own need to heal, in your anger about injustice, and in your passion for change. And we want to meet you there more resourcefully, offer you more, create some of the amazing ideas that some of you have shared with us over the past few years. Please consider joining us this year as a sustaining member of Healing Solidarity. We'd love to have you as a part of that in the coming year.